When you think of classic Disney attractions, you probably imagine soaring with Peter Pan, going under the sea with Ariel, or maybe sailing away with the pirates. But then there's the Haunted Mansion. Even though it's been enjoyed by millions of families over the years, this attraction is so creepy that even some adults are afraid to ride it. It's no surprise that this ride is full of surprises, but today we're going to share the creepiest secrets behind the mansion. From ghostly hitchhikers to cursed artifacts, here are the dark origins of Disney's Haunted Mansion. In the early 1900s, traveling was much more dangerous than it is today. And if you wanted to get from one place to another quickly, your best bet was to take a train. Trains became a big business in the United States during the Industrial Revolution because they were an efficient way to transport raw materials like coal and iron ore. They were also very profitable for investors. The railroads helped fuel America's rapid industrial and economic growth. However, these trains could be deadly because they didn't have many safety features. People who worked on the railways would frequently get injured or killed on the job. That wasn't great for business, so railroad companies started to look for ways to improve safety. In 1896, a group of railwaymen came up with a new design for railroad crossings. Instead of having people wait on the tracks while cars went by, they created an overhead bridge that would lift up when a train was coming. This solved the problem of traffic stopping for trains. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. These bridges had a lot of moving parts and often broke down. People sometimes got trapped inside the cages when the bridge malfunctioned, and if someone managed to escape, they might fall onto the tracks and get hit by an oncoming train. One day at a rail company convention, Walter Scott, an engineer, suggested using electricity to fix this issue. His idea was to make an electric gate that would drop down across the tracks when a train was coming. This would eliminate the need for a large bridge and reduce the chance of malfunction. Sadly, Walter was fired from his job before he could implement his idea. He felt that he was being punished for speaking up. So he took his idea to another railroad company, but they rejected it too. Walter ended up filing a patent for his invention, but he never got to see it come to life. After he died, his widow took his plans to other inventors and finally they agreed to help her out. Together, they filed a new patent for the electric gate and it was finally built. For a while, this invention helped prevent accidents at railroad crossings. But after a few years, these gates started to malfunction too. People started calling them killer signals because they were sometimes triggered by small animals or falling leaves. One wrong signal was enough to send a car flying into a train. When the signals failed, people began to avoid railroad crossings altogether. So engineers came up with a solution. They put lights on top of the crossing arms to warn drivers about trains. These lights were supposed to be a temporary measure, but they ended up staying. Ever since then, drivers have used crossing signals to guide them safely through intersections. In the late 1950s, Walt Disney was looking for a new attraction for Disneyland. He wanted something that would appeal to both kids and adults, and he thought that a ride based on the story of Peter Pan would be perfect. He bought the rights to the story from Great Ormond Street Hospital and started planning the ride. But Walt wasn't happy with the first version of the attraction. He felt that it wasn't scary enough, so he decided to add some haunted house elements to it. He wanted to create an experience that was magical and fun, but also a little spooky. So he added ghosts, skeletons, and other creepy characters to the ride. In 1966, Peter Pan's flight opened in Disneyland, and guests loved it. They could soar through the night sky with Peter Pan and visit magical places like Neverland and Skull Rock. The ride became an instant classic and has remained one of the most popular attractions in Disneyland ever since. But that wasn't the end of the story. In 1974, Walt Disney World opened in Florida, and Peter Pan's flight was one of the first attractions built. This version of the ride was slightly different, but just as magical. Guests could still fly around London with Peter and Wendy and escape from Captain Hook. But this ride had its own unique features. For example, there was a scene where Tinker Bell sprayed magic pixie dust on the audience, which made their shadows dance. This ride also featured a special audio animatronic figure of Captain Hook, which was more detailed and realistic than previous versions. Despite the differences between the two rides, they both captured the imagination of young and old and remain beloved attractions today. Some say that if you ride Peter Pan's flight backwards, you can see the future. A fan theory claims that the last scene on the ride is actually a glimpse into the future. According to the theory, when Peter Pan flies with the Lost Boys and Tinker Bell over the rooftops of London, the silhouette of a house can be seen in the distance. This house is said to be the Darling family home, and the shadow of a woman standing at the window is said to be Mary, Wendy's mother. The theory suggests that the scene is showing Wendy as an adult returning home after leaving Neverland. It's unclear whether she's come back to visit or to stay permanently, but either way, it seems like she's found happiness and fulfillment in her life outside of Neverland. While this is just a theory and there's no evidence to support it, it does add an interesting layer to the ride and makes you think about the characters in a new way. Disneyland is a place where dreams come true, but it's also a place where things can go wrong. In 1974, a woman named Helen Viola was visiting Disneyland with her daughter when she had an accident on the Peter Pan ride. She suffered serious head injuries and spent several months in a coma. Doctors told her family that she wouldn't make it, but against all odds, she woke up and made a remarkable recovery. Helen returned to the hospital, but her life would never be the same again. She was left with permanent brain damage and required full-time care. Her family and doctors were amazed by her progress, but they knew that she needed more help. So they reached out to Disney officials. The company was moved by Helen's story and decided to do something special for her. They invited her to Disneyland for a private tour and presented her with a wheelchair. But Helen's story doesn't end there. She became a symbol of hope for other patients at the hospital and was featured in a documentary about medical miracles. Her family and doctors were astounded by her recovery, and she even appeared on talk shows like The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. If you visit Disneyland today, you can still see the wheelchair that was given to Helen in the Disney Gallery at the park. It's a reminder of the human spirit's strength and the kindness of strangers. And if you're feeling brave, you can even sit in it and make a wish for yourself. Working in the entertainment industry can be tough, especially when you're working for a company like Disney. There's a lot of competition for jobs, and those who don't perform well may be let go without warning. Imagine working hard on a project for years only to have it canceled at the last minute. It can be devastating, but it happens more often than you might think. In the case of the Country Bear Jamboree, it was clear that something had to change. The animatronics were outdated and the show was no longer appealing to guests. But instead of giving the cast and crew time to perfect the show, it was abruptly canceled. They were given only a few days to pack up their belongings and leave. This sudden closure shocked the employees and left them scrambling to find new jobs. Some chose to move on from the company, while others held on to hope that the Country Bear Jamboree would eventually reopen. But that day never came. Instead, a new attraction called Splash Mountain was built in its place. Although Splash Mountain was a huge success, it brought back painful memories for those who lost their jobs. Over the years, rumors have persisted that the Country Bear Jamboree will eventually return to the park. But for now, it remains a nostalgic memory for those who experienced it firsthand. From unexpected closures to the pressure of performing for a living, working in the entertainment industry comes with its fair share of challenges. Now, it's time to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the Haunted Mansion? Which scenes are your favorite? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more spooky Disney stories. Until next time, happy haunting.